Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the Board Crew. Sorry about the delay. I was just tying my shoes. So anyway, we're back into it now, back into the swing of things. I'm Daniel and I'm here with Bronson. Hey Bronson.
G'day. Hey, how are you?
Groovy, coming to you live from our own house. We're not in Ben's room anymore. We're doing it 2020 style. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, pretty good. I didn't really get onto this bandwagon. I was a bit too cool for it, you know. I was like,
What's
nah, I'm not gonna do this, rebel.
too
So it's nice, hey, the podcast is late and I'm late to Zoom.
too cool for school? And
Yeah.
and also Ben is here too. Hello, Ben.
Hey there. I'm the reason we're on Zoom at the moment because I'm infectious, but not in a
Oh,
2020 way, so it's fine.
we should have chosen Pandemic as a board game to review then.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh.
You're infectious. Oh, well. Either way, we are going to play or review three really cool games, or I guess you can decide if they're really cool. I'll be talking about a game called Marvel United. What about you, Bronson?
I'm going to be talking about a game that was introduced to me at CanCon, The Magic Labyrinth.
I'm talking about Dwarves Reclaim Your Kingdom, another CanCon find.
All right, let's get into it. So, in life, we all know there are two things that are inevitable. One is death, and two is Marvel. Marvel is
Yes.
everywhere. No
Yes.
matter where you go, you're going to see Spider-Man. Your kids are born knowing who Spider-Man is. They come out of the womb. Oh, that's Thor. Like, they just know. Marvel is that big of a conglomerate, and it is relentless. It's unstoppable, and it's made its way into my life as well. And the thing is, I'm not even a huge Marvel fan, but I like the board games, and I just have a lot of fun. It's Marvel United by, they say Simon Games, but I read it as come on. And it is a 1 to 4 player cooperative game. Basically, you choose, well, this is the core box essentially. Basically, you choose one of the Avengers, like Iron Man or Hulk, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Black Widow. They're all the main kind of Avengers, aren't they? Some of the main Avengers. And it's a very simple power fantasy kind of game. Like, this is a light strategy. If you're looking to get a power fantasy onto the board that doesn't require something that's too crunchy or doesn't require a lot of deck construction like Marvel Champions, this is a nice kind of intro into that, and you kind of get the feel of actually defeating villains, and you get to take on these really known characters like Red Skull and Ultron, at least in the core game anyway. You can, of course, play the solo 1 to 4. The solo is, it's all right. Well, at least
Oh wow,
the
Daniel's saying a solo is not great solo.
yeah, or the official solo mode is only okay. The official one, yeah, the fans, the community kind of rally against the solo mode. They go, it's all right. You might as well just play this as if you were two separate people, like two-handed. And that, I agree, that's a better version. Not that the version, the official solo version is bad, but, you know, pretty good as a cooperative. So how it works is you choose a villain. Let's say we're choosing Red Skull. And you place out some locations. Red Skull is going to go around those locations as you play the game, and he's going to be deploying thugs, and he's going to be kidnapping civilians, and he's going to just make things a lot more difficult for you. So obviously, it's your job to put a stop to that. And the way you put a stop to that is you can defeat his minions, or you can foil his schemes, or you can rescue as many civilians as possible. You go around the board. Red Skull will go around the board. He'll activate. He'll place more minions. He'll attack you. He'll do certain things, and you'll go around the board, rescue civilians, fight thugs like his minions, and also eventually work your way to lowering the Red Skull's defense, and then just go on to pound town on him. Like, you're just going to knock him until he's out. I was going to say red in the face, but he's Red Skull. So that's essentially the gist of the whole game. Marvel United. It's a nice cooperative game. I like the fact that I bought this game for $20. It was a $20
Ooh.
game. It was severely clearanced. And when you see something that is so severely clearanced and there are just like stacks of them, you think, okay, people aren't buying it for a reason. It mustn't be a very good game. I brought it home. It's a nice game. It's pretty nice. It's fun enough. it's not deep. You're not going to go in here thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to have some deep strategy with my friends. It's so simple. Like when you choose a hero, you basically have punch or move or rescue. Like those are your three kind of actions, or wild card, which can be any of the three.
That's a nice like breath of fresh air compared to my experiences with cooperative games where you've got a double-sided card with 8-point font telling you the like 17 different things you can do, but
Yeah.
you can only do four of them every turn. And unless you do these specific things, in which case you can play like to the factorial of pi.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's not that deep. Don't you worry. Like the iconography is really captivating. It's just if you see two fists on a card, you're going to do two punches. That's essentially it. Now, the whole game, Marvel United, it surrounds teamwork, cooperation, and this is a really cool thing that I like. It's just more of an aesthetic kind of thing. But when you play your card, you play like let's say you've chosen Iron Man. Iron Man might be really good at like moving and rescuing people. So you play a card, person next to you when it's their turn, they might play a punch card, but they also get to use the card that you've played. So you're teaming up in that sense. And then when you go again, you get to play a card and you can play one of their cards previously. So you're building up this combo and you can be really proactive in that sense rather than reactive. And it's all about just saying, hey, I'm really good at moving. I know you aren't very good at moving. How about I play a lot of moving cards? And then when it's your turn, you can move and just punch, 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 basically, or rescue, get them all out. And that's the fun part of it. And as you're laying them out, you're actually laying the cards around the board and you're creating a narrative because, yeah, so you see the timeline of, oh, this is where,
Ah, that's so
Ultron,
cool.
he came out and he deployed some minions and then a Hulk smashed them, and then Captain Marvel came out and she rescued some civilians, and then he fought again, and you're creating this really lovely narrative around the board. It's got that really nice vision board and visually aesthetic feel to it. I'm talking a lot about the great things about it. You're not going to like this if you are, into deep strategies. That's kind of where it falls flat. It is so simple to the point that it can be a little bit monotonous and not super exciting.
Hmm.
The other thing I don't like about it is it's really difficult and just greedy kind of monotonization of the series because Marvel United, it's kind of like they've sold you the printer and now they're going to sell you the ink for three times as much. Marvel United, like I said, $20 usually retails for around 60, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
But the expansions, there are so many of them, but only a very small select few are actually on retail shelves. The rest of them, all the good stuff that you want, are all Kickstarter exclusives. So they're hidden behind those walls. Either you had to be there and pledge at the time that they were fundraising for it, or you're going to pay exorbitant prices on eBay. How much do I want to get Doctor Strange? Oh, it was a Kickstarter exclusive. So for you, a few $100s.
Mm.
Cool. Well, that's not really worth it. So for the sense of value for money, the board game for $20, insane. That's an amazing deal. Paying $60 for it, yeah. You'd really want to have to be super into Marvel or just want to have a really quick power fantasy. This game can be finished in 30 minutes. It's fun enough that your kids can get involved in it. I haven't even talked about the art of it. The art is really cute. It's got this little chibi kind of art style about it. Yeah, your kids are going to look at it, or if you've got kids or just people who just love that kind of art style,
Ah,
it's really appealing in that sense. You're going to love it. My son, he comes over and the figurines, he plays with the figurines, he loves them. He just goes, I'm Hulk, and he like makes his own story and plays that way. And it's really cool in that sense. You might as well just buy it for a 4-year-old. Like he says it's his favorite game. He doesn't know how to play it, but he just gets the figurines and just walks around the table with it. So I'd recommend it in that sense. If you want a quick, short power fantasy, it's fun. If you want just a cheeky kind of cooperative game that doesn't require too much thinking, it's good in that sense. Kind of feels a bit like a filler game before you go into the harder games, but I don't mind it. I think it's good. I wouldn't spend too much more money on it, and I like it enough to warrant a $20 purchase. That's Marvel United by Come On Games or Simon.
all right. I'm about to talk about a game that I coming into. I like. I did have some preconceptions, some like immediate sort of like, oh, is this going to be a children's game that is not fun to play, but the kids love it.
Which sadly too many are.
Yeah, but I've been pleasantly surprised with this. The Magic Labyrinth really is fun for all ages, or at least fun for me. And I'm an age. So it was designed in 2009 by Dirk Bauman. It's a roll and move with a memory twist. A lot of Dirk Bauman's games seem to have a like memory mechanic to them. In this one, you move around a board trying to move over the tiles, which have specific icons on them. And depending on the current icon that's being drawn out of the bag, that's the one you're looking for, and you're going through a maze. Well, that sounds pretty simple. So what's the catch?
What makes it magic?
Yeah. The catch is that there's magic. There is the top board, which you're moving around, and then there's a sub board, which has wooden pegs that prior to or part of the setup is putting the pegs in specific ways that makes it a labyrinth. But then why would it be a labyrinth if the pegs are underneath the board and then you're moving on top of the board? There's magnets. So each one of the 4 players has a player piece and a magnet that attaches underneath the board to the player piece. So you're moving around, hoping not to hit the invisible walls, because if you do, then your marble disconnects from your player piece and you have to start again from your corner.
Oh, that's fun.
It is really fun. You could be playing against younger opponents and have as much a chance at winning or losing.
Right. So who would you recommend it for? I know you said it's all ages, but is there a certain group, like a family or group of friends, or?
Yeah, it's a 4-player max game, so I'd recommend it for any nuclear family.
It's pronounced nuclear.
Nuclear. Yeah, I think it's a really fun family game. That being said, even though there are like 4 players allowed, I think it's at its best with 3 players. I would recommend it for 3 to 4 players. Families, mixed ages are fine. Or if you're happy to put more time into the setup of a game than playing it.
Oh.
Only that it can take a little bit of time to put those like wooden pegs into the subboard.
Does it feel fiddly?
Yeah, you got to like set up the maze.
So maybe a better way to phrase that would be, I wouldn't recommend this game if you don't like setting up games. But I would
for people who like setting up Gloomhaven, it's just fine.
Yeah.
No, I think it's similar to like, because Magic Labyrinth, it's not quite as fun as Mousetrap to set up, but you are setting up something cool. Like you're building like the toy factor of the game, and you get to play with. So it's not like you've got to sort out a heap of cards or move a heap of tokens or anything. You're building the toy that you're about to play.
It is almost a mini game towards the game itself. The fun of like, and so I have taken turns with players. We all just grab a few pegs each, and then we'll put it in some spots. That way, we're all like having as much opportunity to design the board or maybe sabotage like particular like areas of the board, but not so much that it's all one person's fault for rigging the labyrinth. But there is a real joy. It's an opportunity for a little co-op before you get competitive and run around and try and remember and go. You start moving and you like get caught and you go, all right, well, I'll go to that space from the other way, and then you get caught again, and it's kind of like that feeling you have when you try and put the USB into the computer and it's wrong the first time, so you turn it around, and then it's wrong the second time, so you turn it around.
Yeah, inevitable.
Yeah,
it's a human condition. It's a human experience everyone can share.
It's, I think, pretty fun in that way. You kind of share the frustration, and it ends up being pretty complex. Like, you'd have to have a pretty wicked sense of memory and visualization to like really clue onto the whole board.
I mean, that's one of the things that it works well as a kids game is because kids will be better at it than adults. Like kids are naturally better at memory. That's just, they're learning, absorbing all information. And so you can play your hardest and kids will generally beat you because like they remember the maze
Thank
better
you for
than
saying
do.
that, Ben.
Well, kids only have to remember like 4 things. Like adults
that's
have to
right.
remember everything.
Yeah. That's it. That's my handicap. Is that
Our brain's too full.
while the kids are playing their version, I have to think about taxes.
Yeah. They got to think about what they're eating for dinner. Like,
Yeah, that's the real Magic Labyrinth.
am I going to have pizza or garlic bread or cheese or just a block of cheese? Oh, actually, that's adult life too.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Magic Labyrinth.
All right, last game we're talking about is Dwarves Reclaim Your Kingdom. This is a Aussie designed co-op done by Ben Galea.
I swear, either Instagram is listening or the targeted marketing is primo, because I've been seeing this pop up on my feed.
There you go. Nice. Well, I mean, Bronson, you and I played this not too long ago, actually. Yeah, so this is basically a game where you're dwarves and you've got to reclaim your kingdom. It's kind of that classic dwarf trope of like the empire's been in decline, kind of, they're holding on to their last bits. And so you start off like down in one corner of the board, which is this huge pile of ruins that you don't know what is. And the idea is you like take your little dwarves out and fight your way against all these bad guys that are just streaming in everywhere. So it's a dice rolling game, so you get like all these different sided dice. So you can get all the way up to, I think D12's the biggest one, all the way down to like little piddly D4s. And basically the higher numbers are always better. So you're going to roll the number of dwarves that you've got, and then you get to move around and do stuff based on the dice that you roll. Each place is like a dwarven bit that you get to do things at, like maybe hire some more warriors or upgrade your dice or buy new dice or get resources out of mining because, dwarves love mining, etc. Yeah, I think it's just a really nice little kind of cooperative. It's not super light, but it's also not overly taxing heavy. It feels difficult, and definitely it took Jenny and I a couple of times to win. And you can vary the difficulty. There's a whole heap of different ways. But it really does give that kind of feeling of overwhelming numbers coming at you and sort of having to push them back constantly. And they're sort of like trying to stop the dam overflowing.
Yeah. That like having to balance your progress and gathering like resources and skills against the increase in numbers of enemies or the like less and less turns being available for you.
Has this really interesting thing because for some reason the dwarves have forgotten about where they like set up everything. So you have to go out and explore, and so you're flipping over tiles, which you want to do because you want to find cool places where you get heaps better like tiles than potentially your starting tiles. And also that's one of the end points is you have to discover every single tile before you can win. But it's actually really dangerous to flip tiles. And so there's this kind of like almost push your luck element where you go like, should I risk flipping this tile, hoping that we find, like a blacksmith or a watchtower or something that we really need? Or do I like hang back for another turn, gather up more resources, and then flip it? Or if I flip it and it's really bad, can Bronson do anything to help me? Or do we both have to just run?
Are you kind of laying tiles as you're exploring, or are they already laid out and then you just flip them over and there's just some benefits or
They're already
disadvantages
laid
to
out,
doing
and you
that?
can walk across ones that aren't discovered yet, so you can keep walking around. But when you choose to explore one, you'll explore it, and then you got to roll a die, and that many bad guys will come out. But some of the tiles are also basically like an ambush where it's like just this ton of bad guys. You flip over the tile, and it's like this is a bad guy camp, and they're like now swarming out of here as well. It's like, oh
I-
no.
Is there any benefit or any drive to sort of say, oh, I want to explore a little bit further, even though I know there could be like a camp of bad guys here outside of like treasures or something? Is what's the incentive?
Well, partly because you've got to do it to win.
Yeah,
And
right.
as Bronson sort of pointed out, the more turns you take, the more bad guys come every turn. So it starts off like there's one bad guy spawning at each point, and you start with like 3 points that they're spawning from. Like, and that's not terrible. When it gets to two, it feels like a huge step up. But then later in the game, there's like five or six spawning every turn at every point. There's only like 40 bad guys that are allowed to spawn. So, like, if you have 40 of them out, they all get like an extra turn and get double the attacks and stuff, which is just horrendous. Like, you just, at that point, you're just running around going, like, the dwarves are dying. Like, we're frantically just trying to hold like the couple of spots that we've got. We can't explore anymore. So you really want to
Do you feel
get
like
out there early and explore and hopefully find really great places that the dwarves used to have these great buildings like a blacksmith or a weapons forge or another barracks or a griffin tower I think is one of them. Like you can get some cool
Mm.
stuff, but it's risky and you're kind of like, well, the sooner we get these out the better for us, but yeah.
do you feel that the difficulty learning or the difficulty curve is sustainable, or does it ramp up a bit too
I
hard
guess
for you?
the thing that I would say against it is when you start losing, there's probably not much you can do to stop it, but it'll go for a little while until you've lost. Like, there's definitely games that Jenny and I have played that we're like, we're gone, and it's just played out that way. Like I've played lots of other co-op games like, Pandemic and Spirit Island, etc., where sometimes you're like, whoa, this is like we're right on the knife edge, but we could just
Yeah,
maybe do it. Like it looks so bad, but maybe this one, your power doesn't really change that much. Like you get more dice and more dwarves and stuff, and you could have a really good roll, but really each turn like you kind of know the maximum, like if everything went right, what you could do next turn. And if the amount of bad guys that are coming out are double what you could maximally do, you're kind of like, well, it doesn't, there's no luck in this. This is just going to
Yeah.
happen.
So it's got the monopoly curse of, oh, I know I've lost this. I might as well just either stop playing or just keep pushing through until I
Yeah.
lose.
Having said that, though, like it's only really, it takes an hour, I would say, to play.
Mm,
And you will probably only work out that you've lost like in sort of 40 minutes, and then you've got another 10 minutes of like, okay, well, let's play this out. And I guess because it's co-op, you could concede and just go, well, this is it. When you win, though, it's a great feeling when you finally, because you've got to close the city gates too. That's the final thing that you've got to do to win. You've got to achieve all the objectives and then go to the city gates and like slam them shut, and then you're safe from invaders. And it's a great feeling when you can finally get and like do that. So,
does it feel
not
swingy?
as much as you'd think with rolling dice. I think because you've got, like I said, the highest die is a 12-sided, which only one person can get anyway. It's like the King's Guard.
mm,
Normally, the highest dice that players can get without a special ability is like an 8-sided, and you've got a lot of like 6 and 4-sided. So, um, and you can combine your dice as well. So let's say, I rolled two twos with my 4-sided dice. I can combine them to make 1 4, and then I'll use that 1 4 to do something. And a lot of the spaces have, if you roll a two or more or one or more, you can do this. And if you roll a four or five or more, you can do this. Um, you've
yeah.
usually got
It's
choices.
yeah. It was like if you rolled a lot of low numbers, you weren't stuck doing nothing with your
Mm.
turn. You'll do less, but you'll still be able to do things. Like you can still play. It's really useful to get those higher rolls, but there's ways around it.
And
Gotcha.
there's also, if you can get a really high roll, there's certain sites that give you like I think they're called a title that the dwarf gets. So like if you can roll 12 or
14,
14
12,
on some
yeah.
of the really high titles at this square, then you can take the title of like Master Blacksmith or Master Worksman or something, and then you get a special ability and maybe a special die that you get to add to your pool. So maybe now, like if you're the Master Miner, I think Bronson had that in our game.
Yeah,
Meant
yeah,
that,
yeah,
Master
yeah,
Miner. Put that in
yeah.
your
yeah.
resume.
Yeah, yeah,
That meant
yeah,
that
yeah.
any of his dice got
Crypto.
like a +4 on the mines, which meant that all of the dice were the maximum amount at the mines, which was great. So all these ones
Mm.
were sort of super dice, but also he could teleport from mine to mine. So
It kind of gives me, was it Forgotten Island vibes, just based on what you're talking about,
yeah, yep,
but harder, like way harder.
yeah, yep, a little bit less family weight than probably Forgotten Island, but very similar feel of like you feel that island kind of sinking and just kind of closing in on you. The difference with this one is because you start off small and then you expand. But it's that interesting push and pull where you're expanding, but you're also holding back the hordes because they can
Mm.
destroy things that you've found and reclaimed. And that's really bad because it makes another spawn point and a whole heap and you lose the spot. So you can't just ignore the bad guys, which feels like a good strategy at the start when there's not many of them. Kind of like, yeah, we just keep avoiding these goblins and it doesn't matter. But then they start getting into large enough groups that they can trash places, and then that's terrible. So
No,
It's
don't
like
like that.
no, and it's like that chain
oh,
reaction from
yeah,
Pandemic. Yeah, it's so easy to tempt that fate and go, it's not a high enough risk. We'll just power through. But as soon as you get one of those like groups of enemies that is too much, it just keeps growing and growing. And
it's really hard to fight
yeah,
when they get into a big stack because you can't. If you
yeah,
charged in suicidally, you'll die, and then you miss a turn, and the bad guys get stronger. So you've got to kind of work together, going like, oh, there's this stack of 8 of them moving around now. We've all got to like send warriors in and try and shoot axes at them from a distance, etc. So which
mm.
is a nice little feeling, and it's you could alpha game it, but it kind of feels because you get to roll your own dice. I feel like people have a fair bit of like, I rolled this, so I'm making choices.
Yeah, yeah. For as much as like there may be that these are the objectively like correct moves to make, you are stuck with the moves you can
Hmm.
make. Yeah, it does like I don't know, mitigate. Yeah, like you say, it makes it harder to alpha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's Dwarves Reclaim Your Kingdom. Well, here we are. 3 games. Dwarves Reclaim Your Kingdom. We also had Magic Labyrinth and we had Marvel United. And we dug deep into some of those games. Yeah, like the fun. I think I might have to do a mining themed graphic for this one now that I've just stuck the landing on that one. That was beautiful. Pat
Yeah.
myself on the back. But there we go. What games, which of the 3 would you like to play, Bronson?
Oh, all right. It's a difficult choice. I reckon, yeah, between the 3, I'd choose Flip 7. Uh,
The one that wasn't mentioned. Got it.
yeah. So, was it the previous episode? I think Flip 7 came up.
Yeah, yeah. In the CanCon episode, you.
No, I talked about it. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so after we recorded that episode, we played a cheeky round and I was hooked. But if I'm stuck between these 3,
Oh, you don't have to. Flip 7's a good answer then. It's very Bronson. It's a very Bronson answer. Going
okay.
against the grain.
All right, I'm locking it in. It's my game.
All right, Ben, what game would you like to play out of the 3?
at the moment, I'm pretty like drained. So really, the Magic Labyrinth is probably kind of about the level that I would, it is just fun, and there's just that sense of tension when you just hear your little ball drop. You're like,
Yeah.
no, I thought that was the way.
Yeah, yeah. It's so easy to just say, "Oh no, this is rigged. This is
Yeah.
unfair." It's objectively not, but I feel it is.
Yeah, how do you
Mate,
cheat in that
you
game?
feel it in your gut when you hear that little ball drop. You're just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'd like to give Dwarves Reclaim Your Kingdom a go. I mean, it's solo 1 to 6, so I like exploring games. I like tile flipping games. I don't like Betrayal, House on the Hill. That's one of the only exceptions, but a lot of them I do like. Dwarves Reclaim Kingdom would be up there for me.
Nice.
Very cool.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for getting bored with us. And we'll talk to you again in a fortnight. And we probably won't be late next time. We'll see how we go. Cheers. Thanks for being patient.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
And this was The Board Crew. Thanks again for listening.
I'm going to clap so you know where the edit starts.
The clap
Hello.
didn't come through at all.
Didn't come through?